This isn't a graduation or a commencement. This is an intersection on the highway of life, and it may be the biggest and most complicated one. It's the intersection of learning and work, college and career. And in some ways, I've spent my entire career at this intersection. And my goal today is to share the best wisdom that I've gathered about how to successfully navigate through it and beyond. I need to start, though, with some really good news. As graduates from Lynn University, you are far better prepared than most. Lynn's innovative interdisciplinary curriculum and a focus on applied learning means that you're already better prepared to navigate this intersection. Studies show, for example, that the most important factors of college linked to success later in life are things like working on a long-term project that took a semester or more to complete, having a job or an internship where you were able to apply what you were learning in the classroom, having a mentor who encourages your goals and dreams. I'm curious of the graduates sitting here, how many of you feel like you hit the mark on at least one of those? Hands, hollers, let's hear it. This can be the interactive part. It's not a surprise to me that a lot of you nodded heads when I said that. And by the way, as you go out and have job interviews, emphasize those points of your Lynn experience. It will sell and sell well. I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to lead global studies, work with renowned researchers, and with some of the best universities and corporate entities in the world. And from that, I have a few insights to share about what makes people successful in work and life. Here are what I think of as the all-time greatest hits. First, the single most important determinant of your success at work is who your manager is. Now, I know many of you have already secured jobs, so you probably could have used this advice a few weeks or months ago, but trust me, it will serve you well throughout your lifetime. It turns out 70% of what accounts for your engagement in your job is all about who your manager is. Do you have one who focuses on your talents and tries to help create those in the form of strengths that you can use each day? That would be the best kind of manager to have. Or do you have a manager who constantly harps on your weaknesses and critiques what you're doing? Or worse yet, do you have a manager who just ignores you entirely? My advice, wherever and whenever you can, is to pick the manager or leader you work for, not the organization. And this would be my same advice that I give to you as students. And for those of you going off to graduate school, you can apply this one. Pick the professor, not the course. Think about the best teacher that you've ever had. And actually, I'd like you to put that person's name in your head right now. So think about the best teacher you've ever had. Put that person's name in your head. And if you don't mind, you want to be participatory, everybody at the count of 3, shout out the name of that person. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. That's awesome. Now, with that person in mind, I want to ask you the question, what was it that made them your best teacher? And by the way, we can keep this interactive. I'd love to hear you shout out a few of the things that made that person your best teacher. Go ahead, just give me a couple. Oh, this is awesome. So I'm hearing a few things like they cared. They got to know me as a person. They pushed me, but in an encouraging way. We could go on, of course, but the reason why I wanted to give you that prompt is that I want you to think about those qualities from your best teacher, and I want you to look for that in a manager. And by the way, when you ascend to manager and leadership roles yourself, I want you to think about being that kind of manager yourself. Second, when it comes to a life well lived, I'm going to encourage you at every stage of your life to ask yourself the two most important questions in the world. First, do I have a chance to do what I'm best at each day? And second, do I have someone who encourages my development? Whether that's a teacher, coach, faculty member, manager, boss, leader, spouse, family member. If you can say yes to these two questions throughout your life, you will find success on so many levels. Third, if you have an ambition to live a long and good life, here's a fun one for you. In a study of centenarians aimed at understanding the secret to a long life, a couple things stood out. On average, they didn't retire until age 80. Now, this might revise a few of your retirement plans. I'm sure actually for some parents and grandparents in the room, it might revise yours. And when these centenarians were asked about their jobs and careers, they all described jobs where they had purpose through the act of being able to use their strengths and talents each day. Jobs and careers aren't just about making money. You need a paycheck, of course, but they're also about purpose. Purpose, and this is the really critical part to understand, is much more about finding or shaping a job that allows you to use your strengths and talents every single day, not every now and then. It's different than simply saying, follow your passion. It's more about following your strengths and talents. So that's my summary of the greatest hits. And as much as you'd be wise to follow them, I'm not sure they're as important as what I'm going to encourage you to think about next, as your graduation or intersection navigation assignment of sorts. As I stand up here a quarter century removed from my own college graduation, I can't remember a single thing that my commencement speaker said. I tried, I couldn't come up with it. As I was preparing for this address, at first I thought a great goal would be to leave the graduates here with just one key takeaway that they remember from what I say. But then it hit me. If this is an intersection, you need to be able to navigate it yourself. And that means my goal isn't to have you remember what I say, but to get you to remember what you told yourself today. I'm going to say that again. My goal isn't to get you to remember what I say, but to remember what you will tell or told yourself today. I've come to realize that the advice that has worked for me is the advice that has worked uniquely for me. I've had great advice from friends and mentors, coaches, counselors. Advice from others is always valuable to listen to and to consider. But you also need to decide whether it makes sense for you. As a graduate, you need to leave here today believing that no one is a better expert on your life than you. Today marks the moment when you start making and taking your own advice. Navigating this intersection and the many more ahead requires you to have your own internal compass or GPS. As I reflect on the best advice I've had, it was the advice that I gave myself, or rather that I adopted and made my own. In my class of 1999 college yearbook, I actually listed quotes that I had planned to live by. The heart has its reasons, which reason cannot comprehend. At some point, all the data and analysis in the world gives way to just your gut instinct or what's in your heart. The other one I listed was fortune to the bold. And of course, to be successful in life, you have to take risks. You have to be bold. And the last one I listed, and it might be my favorite one, is the early bird gets the worm. You have to work hard. You have to be prepared. And yes, you have to show up early. These mottos and guideposts were ones that I adopted very early on from the very beginning of my career, and they've served me well more than anything else because I made them mine. I want to give you one task today, and that is to think about what your advice is for yourself. In this moment, sitting at the intersection of college and career, the very act of doing this will change you. Write it down, share it with your friends and family, post it on social media, whatever it takes to imprint it as your true north or North Star. My advice to myself. This should be your first step into the world as graduates to become once and for all the greatest expert on you and to begin to lead your life with your own advice, the kind of advice that resonates most deeply with who you are and who you want to be. It's time for your advice, not mine, not theirs, yours.